Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet. I hope you're having a fantastic day. How is everybody doing? I'm sorry, we're having a little bit of a delay. We are about 15 minutes late, and I can proudly say that it is not my fault. Although it always is my fault. This time it is not. Okay, I don't want to blame anybody. We just had technical issues,
Well,
and we
it's me.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
mine.
Okay, thank you for taking the responsibility. Yes, it means a lot.
I'm a responsible citizen, so I take it.
Yeah, so we had some technical issues, but we are here now, and hope everything is good. Hope everything sounds good. Let me know if everything is okay. Let me know if there's a discrepancy between our volume levels and all that. But we are live, finally, with Harris Sultan. This is the first time that Harris Sultan is actually here on the channel, right? I didn't have you before. I wanted to host you like 2 years ago, but
no. I think I've been on your show a couple of times.
really, I
Maybe
don't think
once.
so. I don't
Maybe once,
remember.
maybe twice.
I think we always plan.
I actually don't remember. I don't remember exactly either. But no. I think at least once. I think I've definitely been. Or maybe you've been on my channel, but I haven't.
Yeah, I was on your channel once. Yeah.
Really, this is atrocious behavior from you, AP.
I know it is. It is horrible.
This is really. I want to protest. I'm sorry. Maybe we gotta do it some other time. That you gotta beg me to have.
No, but this time I want to make up for that. That's why I want to have you today on here for a brief conversation, and I also want to have you back again as soon as possible, because we're having we have an event planned, right? That you sure are very excited about. Can you quickly tell us about that? What is going to happen in 2 days?
Yeah, look, I'm very excited. I mean, people lose sleep because they they're nervous or something. I'm losing sleep because I just can't wait to get in the ring, with your old friend, Hakikachu. I'm really not expecting, and I want to set the expectation straight with everyone. If you're looking for an honest, serious conversation or a serious intellectual debate, I think you're going to be disappointed, because that's not what's going to happen. Because I'm dealing with clown. I'm dealing with a clown, and we're all dealing with clowns. He thought that this is some sort of a promotion or something. He started doing trash talking. He created a thumbnail about me where I'm like this, like midway through my stream, midway my video, and then took a screenshot out. I was like, you're a little kid, and you, by your own admission, you're like he's a socially awkward, uncomfortable kid. Probably not a kid anymore. His head's bigger than most of kids. So it's not gonna be an intellectual, serious conversation, because every opportunity I get, I'm gonna humiliate him. And obviously there's going to be. I mean, the reason why I can actually have this luxury is because his arguments are not that good at all. The only problem is that his choir boys, his zombie followers, they would always say, "Oh, we won." Which doesn't really bother me, because to me the gauge of winning a debate is like if you can ask people afterwards, which we can obviously never do. That like, for example, your debate that you had with him. Oh, we won, ha ha ha, we won, and then this troll army that comes after it. So tell me, how
and nobody
many
even knows what we talked about. They just, if you ask them questions, they don't even know what we really talked about. They just have these like 2-3 moments or so.
Oh yeah. I have full. But again, as I said, so these things don't bother me. So what? To me, what a gauge is, how many people want AP versus Hakikachu, and how many of those atheists were like, oh my goodness, I never thought of this. I was an atheist all my life. Hakikachu made such a good point. There you go. I'm going to go and bring back slavery and sex slavery. Voila, I'm a Muslim now. How many people did that? No, I seriously doubt not. There wouldn't even be a single person who did that. Yes, the only problem is that we have atheists, because we don't follow any, we don't blindly follow anyone. We are self-critical people. So and that's actually, yeah.
let's give a little bit of a background for all those who don't know, before we go on, for all those who don't know what's about to happen, what we're talking about. So in 2 days, I believe, right? It's on the 18th.
Saturday.
Yeah, 18th Saturday. Paris Sultan is going to have a debate, an actual real debate with Daniel Hikikachu on the topic, should we have human rights or Sharia? So it will be actually explicitly spoken human rights against Sharia, where Paris Sultan is advocating for human rights and Daniel Hikikachu is arguing against the notion of human rights and for Sharia law imposed on humanity, imposed on all of us. So this will be happening in 2 days. It will take place on Modern Day Debate, hosted by James, who is a good host. I had debates there before, and the stream will also take place on Paris Sultan's own channel, and the link to that is indeed right down in the description here on this stream. So if you want to click on that link and set a reminder there so that you can catch that stream as soon as it starts, that will be fantastic. I just wanted to clarify this so that everybody knows. Go on, Harris.
Yeah, right.
Sorry.
Well, I forgot what I was talking about. So I think it just doesn't matter. The problem with atheists is because we're like, and I've actually experienced that myself as well. Where one, if I counter someone's argument perfectly fine, then atheists are like, oh, I would have answered it like this. I would have answered like, well, then you go and debate him. And that's how on the basis of that, they also start scoring their own goals, and they start criticizing their own guy, which is okay in a sense that we are self-critical and we don't beat the chest like, oh, we won. But I think horses for courses. I'm a big follower of that. So this is why I'm saying, like, I mean, don't expect an intellectual conversation with him, because I don't even see him as a serious intellectual debate or someone who's going to be making serious points. Like every opportunity I get to make fun of him, I will make fun of him. Some people might be disappointed by that, but it is what it is. I'm not debating with Shabir Ali, or I'm not having a conversation with Mufti Abu Layth or someone where I would genuinely want to have a discussion. These guys are just there to score points and beat their chest. I really liked your comment afterward, because I was very put off by how a lot of people were like, oh, AP did this, or AP, didn't do well, or whatever. I liked your follow-up comment on that. You were like, oh, look, I'm really sorry. I wasn't explicit enough in support of slavery or something. You made that comment, which is like, yeah, right. Like, how many people literally, like him, he is pro-slavery. Is there anything left to say? Maybe not to his brain dead zombie followers. Maybe not to them, because they're hanging by a thread. They're like, yes, just give us something, so we can tell these apostates and these pro-human rights people that slavery is good. So then even Hakikachu, when he comes out with his lame ass arguments, then they're like, yep, we got it. So
the issue with him
strategy, yeah, go on.
So you are right in so far that he's not interested in actually getting to a common ground, or trying to understand each other, trying to convey proper information, having an honest debate, listening to your point of view. He's not interested in that at all, and he has shown that. The issue with the stream that took place on my channel was that I invited him initially for a conversation, an interview, in order to so I would ask him questions, and he would merely explain his point of view, and I would dig into his thoughts. That's what we agreed on, and that's what I talked about with him as well. His plan was, of course, different. His plan was simply to come on here and to entirely advertise for his extremely outrageous views. And he doesn't care about whether we find these views acceptable or not. What he cares about is that he can convey his extremely outrageous views in an outrageous way to everybody, and he doesn't care about emotions. He doesn't care about our understanding of human rights. He simply wants to say it is a fact that people are happier if people of the same kind are around each other, which is why we should execute apostates, because that decreases our happiness. And when I ask him, so you're telling me that we should execute people for their opinions because you want people to be happier, he then moves on to the next topic and advocates for how slavery is good because it is better than capitalism. And he goes on with that. He's not interested in arguing about these things or in, being reasonable. He's interested in saying terrible stuff to people.
Which is fine, and I expect him to behave that way. And this is why I'll just keep going back to my points, and we'll see how far that goes. And little jives, little jokes, they'll continue. But this is how when he sits down, he thinks like, oh, I'm a Harvard graduate. Certainly doesn't behave like one, or the level of Harvard has gone significantly down, as I might have heard of, or as people would have expected. He wants to put his points forward. Let him do that. I am just interested in how many people are going to be convinced by that. No one other than his own crowd. And if we actually dig further into it, and I've got quite a few points, and I know he's ignorant on so many topics, and we'll see on the day. So people, people themselves, his own people of his own choir, they would themselves be hating on him. Because he's going to have to either defend it or stand for something, and with the disagreements within the Muslim community, and yeah, we'll see. I don't want to give away too much because to be honest, I haven't even prepared much. I've just thought about it. I've thought about certain points. But yeah, I mean, I haven't even heard him much. I've heard some snippets. I've seen some snippets here and there, and he didn't impress me at all.
I think you should
you're right.
should totally watch the stream that I had with him and listen to everything that he said. And I think you will get you will get a good idea of what he thinks.
Look, I think I do have an idea. I mean, I've watched his full stream for someone he did with secular jihadists, and his arguments haven't really sharpened much since then. So he can put his points forward, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. I want to quickly read this super chat by Myth Vision, who was on here live yesterday. He said, I just recorded a 2-hour recording with Dr. Shadi Nasser. So many bombs in that recording. The origins of these religions are human. I'm excited to see that, really. That will be a very nice conversation. Thank you, Myth Vision. And shout out to Myth Vision again for doing some great work and recently also approaching Islam finally and talking to scholars who are knowledgeable of Islam and talking to ex-Muslims. So that is great. Coming back to the issue of Daniel Hikikachu, the problem is he is somebody who is as outspoken as no other Muslim apologist. He directly says, and I want to say he is not extreme compared to other Muslim apologists. He's not radical. He's not extraordinarily crazy when it comes to his religious beliefs. He's merely brutally honest and open about his beliefs. And I mean, you can see that in the fact that when he goes out and makes outrageous statements about how we should impose Islam on the world and we should enslave the enemies of Islam and we should bring back slavery and this and that, people don't denounce him for that. There is no significant number of people who denounce him for that. People don't even reject that or criticize that. People applaud him. They applaud him, they congratulate him without explicitly agreeing on every single point and without explicitly talking about why they applaud him. They applaud him. So he is that outspoken, crazy dude of the of Islamic apologetics who will directly tell us that Islam should be imposed on you and me, that you and I should be executed, that people should be enslaved, and so on. And it will be good to bring that forth, to bring that out into the public. And the issue is, he also, as said, he doesn't have a problem, communicating his message in such a way that it will offend people. I honestly believe that he has a certain personality problem and that he has certain experiences in life that push him to act this way. But the best thing that we can do, the best thing that you can do in your position is simply to let him speak and to demonstrate to everybody what he believes in.
Exactly. Given that you talked about, it seems like I was actually speaking with a Pakistani Muslim scholar, Urdu-speaking Pakistani Muslim scholar, a very big one, and he was saying, Harris, don't you think that all these ex-Muslims have some sort of a trauma in their life? And I said, look, it's true. A lot of ex-Muslims actually carry trauma because of their experiences, how they have to escape with their lives. They have to, leave their countries. They have to, run away in the middle of the night. And then I said, also on the other end, if you see these Dawa guys, these hijabs and hakikachus and Ali Dawas and all these guys, if you actually have a look at these guys as well, because, their behavior is not normal by any stretch of imagination. So he agreed with me. He said, yeah, look, because a normal Muslim, like any other normal person, he would have certain beliefs, and as outrageous as they might be. For example, like if a Hindu believes that cow urine is amazing or whatever, they're not really going out of the way, and they're not really cutting you up for it. Or ordinary Hindus, just like that ordinary Muslim that I know of, they might believe in ridiculous ideas, but they're not going out of the way. They're not overly concerned all the time about ex-Muslims. And, we have desensitized a lot of crowd by now, especially in Pakistan. I see great change in the last couple of years. There are like 20 Urdu-speaking channels that popped up. But look at these guys, though. Look at specifically these guys. I don't know about the details, but I would be putting, my life on it, that every single one of these guys are carrying some sort of a trauma, whether that's growing up in a Western country where they weren't accepted by their white neighbors, or the school kids made fun of them or something, and they had the identity crisis that Majid Nawaz speaks so much about. And Hakikachu, as far as I know, I think he was born and raised in America, or maybe moved there very early on. So he might have had these issues as well. Ali Dawa probably had these issues. So all these guys are carrying some sort of a trauma as well. So, like as Ali Dawa openly likes to say, like whatever, no matter what you say, that why you left Islam, okay, it seems like you have emotional reasons. Excuse me? How did you get to emotional part? I've got, for example, in my case, I had absolutely nothing. I always say Islam actually never, ever hurt me. Islam never affected me. And my family was so moderately religious. I left Pakistan when I was 19 years old. I didn't even know the world, and I moved to Australia. And then some 7-8 years later, I became aware of Richard Dawkins. And for a couple of years, I studied these counter arguments, these positions against Islam. And I was, whoa, okay, all right. And then after that, I went on and lived my life. And, Islam never hurt me. So there's not a single emotional trauma there. But no matter what answer you give to people like Ali Dawa, they would just turn around and emotional. But if you actually look at these people, for example, this Hakikachu guy, I'm sorry, that was unintentional. If you look at this Hakikachu, he's so socially awkward, man. Like, I take pity on him. Like, someone sent me a clip where he was talking to this guy with his own brothers, and he was like, yeah, I used to hoop. I used to do basketball. And he goes, do you even lift, bro? I'm like, excuse me? What are you doing? Look at you. You probably eat Maccas all the time. So,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know you don't want to go there, but I'm sorry. I have a totally different approach. I have zero respect for these people, because just then he actually put a community tab. And he was making fun of, he was like, oh, are you ready, Haris, or something? Let's hope you don't get the anxiety attack like your murtad friend. He was referring to you. And so these guys make fun of issues like, like if someone is having an anxiety, or someone's having mental health issues or something, these guys make fun of it. And they see it as a virtuous thing to do.
I even saw this thing recently. I even saw this post recently where somebody somebody shared a screenshot where I apparently said to somebody, that I have dealt with several issues like depression and anxiety and trauma and also ADHD, and I take medication for these things, and I deal with these things. I get treatment and I manage these things. And they shared this on Twitter, apparently, and people started sharing and retweeting that and making fun of the fact that I have depression and anxiety and that I take medication for that, which is very weird, and which tells you a lot about the mindset that these people are in. You know, it's not a shameful thing to have depression and anxiety. It's not a shameful thing to have trauma, which is usually something that you can do nothing for. It is especially not a shameful thing to take medication or treatment for these things. It's basically like making fun of somebody for having asthma and getting treatment for that. You know, it's like these people have a very strange mindset, and they will not shy back from making fun of people for having certain, I don't know, mental health issues or for weaknesses. And this is very ironic because when we're talking about Daniel Hikiju, I don't want to make fun of anybody's personality or personality traits or mental health issues and this and that.
Or even the size of his head.
Yeah. But I have studied quite a bit of. I've studied quite a bit of psychology. You know, I am a student of psychology. I'm not qualified by any means to come out here and to make a professional diagnosis. It would be unethical in any case. But that's okay with me. I waive that because I never intend on becoming a professional psychologist myself. But looking at that guy, from everything that I have learned, from the latest information on mental health, from everything that I learned in abnormal psychology and personality development and so on, I see that he definitely has a personality problem, which is an antisocial personality disorder. You can clearly see this in the fact that he doesn't respond to emotional talk. He doesn't respond to proper compliments. He doesn't feel bad for others. He doesn't have empathy for others. He says the most brutal, inhuman things very comfortably and gets applauded for that. It just looks like there's of course much more to it than that, but it looks to me like he has a pretty bad personality disorder, and that is not something to mock. You know, that it happens to humans, but that could explain much of his behavior toward others and why you should not support everything that he says and everything that he does. It's bad.
Which is why it is important for me not to shy from talking about it, because again, mocking someone's mental illness is one thing, but what would you do if he became a leader of some Islamist country? What would you do? I mean, we would be concerned. We've known what happens when psychopaths become heads of states. You look at Stalin or Hitler, like all those guys, and Muhammad himself, or Mullah or Saddam Hussein, or all these guys. So so it's important to actually talk about this. It's not necessarily mocking it. And him, by his own admission, is an introvert. He's shy, and then, as you say, he doesn't see anything. He looks you in the eye and he says it's okay to kill the apostates and whatever bullshit reasoning he gives. It in his mind is perfectly reasonable, but he's impacting. I couldn't care less what he says or what he believes in, because the reason why a lot of people don't actually oppose him either, because he doesn't hold any value. His followers are these brain dead zombies, confused people growing up in the West who don't have any day job, and they just probably live on welfare, and they'll stay with their parents and they spend their afternoon in a shisha bar or something. That's all these guys do. So, and for a pastime, they're confused with their identity, and they go like, okay, I don't fit in the Western world, yet I want to live in the Western world. And I remember that point that you made. Why don't you go to live in Afghanistan, or why didn't he go to ISIS? And whatever BS answer he gave, and we can dig further into it, because to me, it's not mocking. It's important to talk about this and highlight that. So some of the people who actually listen to him, I want to be able to go to them and say, is this the kind of person you want to listen to? Look what's coming out of his mouth, and it's because
we have an example right here. We have an example right here. I just put it on the screen. A fan of Daniel Hikikachu, who is named Arif, and who said, "You don't need empathy for disgusting creatures like Apis," referring to me. So this is the kind of people who actually openly want to say these things while also going out there and saying stuff like, these ex-Muslims and these people there being Islamophobic. We are accused of being Islamophobic, of having some distaste, some lack of understanding, lack of empathy, some prejudice for Islam, while these people come out here and call me right here a disgusting creature, as Daniel Hikikachu also did, which is why they dehumanize us and justify executing us, which he directly said to my face while we were talking face to face. So this is the kind of people that we are dealing with, and this is a reality. We have to talk about this, and it's good that you agree to having a debate and exchange with these people. Thank you, Arif, for giving us a perfect example of what we're talking about.
Not only we need to talk about this, but we need to talk about it in their own language. And I actually literally, because as I said, it's probably because that's my personality as well. I mean, I've always been quite an out there kind of a person. I've always lived my life. I've always enjoyed. I've never been intimidated by people, or that's a part of my personality. So, like if someone comes at me with the chest out, I mean, I'm likely to do the same thing. So if these guys are going to come at me or come at us, I want to give them a very strong message that, this shit doesn't work. I mean, yeah, maybe if I was in Afghanistan, maybe I would have been intimidated, but you know what? Screw you. You would be responded to in kind, and this is what I'm saying. I'm really worried my own people are going to turn against me, because I'm not going to take this debate seriously. I am going to be very brutal with him, and it includes everything about him. So Hikikachu, if you're watching, mate, put some makeup on, okay, before you.
Everybody, this here is why you should stay away from Islam. Everybody, this is why you should stay away from Islam, because you don't want this mindset to be held by everybody around the world. You don't want this mindset to be validated, and you don't want people to make excuses for this and to, explain to us that this is actually totally justified and peaceful and nice, and that opposing this mindset down here is bad and bigoted and Islamophobic. You don't want to support that whole sentiment. So, yeah.
One more thing I wanted to point out. It just came to my mind that how people like Hikikachu, what kind of dishonest people they are. I can tell you, even I am more educated on fiqh than he is. He obviously understands the basic points, and they spend most time on postmodernism and on, or John Stuart Mill or John Locke. So he probably has read a little bit on that just to criticize. And we can dig further into it as well if he wants. But he is not as educated on fiqh. He's not educated on the very thing, the Sharia, that he's talking about, and which makes me wonder that look at the arbitrary rules that these guys come up with. I remember it was Mufti Abu Layth, I think, who had been asking him, Danny boy, Danny boy, why don't you debate with me, Danny boy? And he would be cursing, and he would say, well, you don't have enough followers. I think Mufti Abu Layth has got like 20,000-30,000, and this guy's got 50 or maybe 60,000 now. And look how he highlights it. He goes, unless you have 200K subscribers across many platforms, across various platforms, and that's his criterion. And I'm like, now he's been taken off Twitter now, and he's obviously lost 30. So let's just assume he had 200K. Now you've got 170,000, Daniel Hikikachu. Now you're below my standard, son. I
don't even understand how he thinks. What does that mean? 200 across platforms? Is he trying to? What kind of calculation is that? Is he like, oh, this plus this plus this? So I have so many people following. Are you dumb, man? I mean, do you Harvard degree?
He look, as I said, this guy is an embarrassment to Harvard. I think a lot of any Harvard graduate sees it, and I think some of the clips that I'm going to get out of them, I'm going to be like this. Like a Harvard graduate.
So, yeah. This is how Daniel Hikikachu thinks.
Harvard graduates would be like, no, he's not ours. No, it doesn't belong to us.
This is how Daniel Kikic thinks. He makes a post, says 200,000 followers across platforms. This is how he thinks. So I have 30,000 followers on Twitter. I have 20,000 followers on Facebook. I have 50,000 followers on YouTube. 50, 70, 300. That makes 100. So 100,000 people are following me. In addition to that, I have so many people subscribed to my newsletter. So add 5,000 more people to that. So I have 105,000 people who follow me. Aha! Wow, this is brilliant. I am a Harvard graduate.
And then he goes, I've got 105,000 people following me. You've got only 100,000 following me. You can't debate with me.
You're not qualified.
So decent people like Shabir Ali, right? So decent people like Mufti Abu Layth, and there's some decent Urdu-speaking ones as well. And so you can understand they're troubled by certain teachings of Islam, like apostates and blasphemers and all of that. So you can see that because they're decent people. They're not sociopaths or psychopaths, like in this case or something. Or I don't know what it is. I'm not gonna diagnose him either, but I think he should see a shrink urgently. I always said people like him need a shrink, not a YouTube channel. But anyway, so he doesn't go and he wouldn't speak to them. Those guys are qualified theologians, right? And here he is. He wants to just like, okay, no, bring back slavery. Sex slavery is good. For the eternal happiness of people, we have to kill apostates, blah, blah, blah. And that's it. Those are his arguments, and he wants to stick to that. But why don't you? This is why I'm telling you, the disagreements that we have within the fiqh amongst various scholars, there's so many disagreements, and I don't think he's aware of them. I don't think he's aware of them unless he watches it now, and then he's probably going to try to read a book but I don't think he would. It requires a lot of time. I haven't read the four schools of thought thoroughly myself either. I get put off by that. It's not even my thing. But I have read some commentaries. I have read certain books where they talk about the differences between them and the disagreements that they have, and some of the disagreements are so aggressive amongst each other. So I don't want to talk too much about it because then you would know what I'm talking about.
Well, I would say, to be very honest and to be very fair, I think Daniel Kikic does have a fair understanding of Islamic jurisprudential matters. He has some education in it. Contrary to popular information, Daniel Kikic is not actually a scholar or student of knowledge of Islamic studies. He is his official education, his actual education is in a completely different field. He studied physics, and then he studied philosophy, as far as I know, and his Islamic studies are very much independent from that, as far as I can see it. A different, very popular Muslim apologist, even in private, told me, and I feel so bad that I have to honor his privacy and I can't make this public, but a certain very big Muslim apologist who really hates me in public, in private, told me in the back, look, Daniel Kikic is a good guy and he's a good Muslim, but he's not a scholar and he has no authority to tell me that I'm wrong on something. So other Muslim apologists are ready to admit this. They just don't want to publicly throw him under the bus because he has a platform and he says outrageous things that nobody else wants to say.
Which is why I think he knows that there's certain people who would challenge him, people of authority, people muftis who are proper muftis or who are qualified. They would challenge him. They would challenge him because, as I said, there are disagreements on certain principles. On the so like kind of like what when Yasir Qadhi said that, like it's an open secret amongst the intelligentsia or the scholarship of Muslims about the different qira'ats. But like us as outsiders, as just ordinary believers, I didn't know that. I had found out up until 3-4 years ago. I knew that the various qira'ats, but I never took that seriously. But Yasir Qadhi, being a qualified theologian, he said it, that it's an open discussion. And so many other muftis, etc., they all know of it, but it just doesn't come out. So to me, on certain topics that Kikic talks about, I still would go with my gut feeling that he's either ignorant because he's never spoken about those things. And to the best of my knowledge, I mean, I've spoken with some people who have followed him, and some of them who used to follow him. Obviously, a lot of these guys are ex-Muslims, and what is his opinion on this? What is his opinion on that? And people just don't know. There's certain topics that he's never spoken about, and I think that's what we'll be pushing him on.
Well, but when I initially approached him, I didn't even approach him. I made a video about him because he made these tweets in which he, mockingly approved of the execution of gay people. And then when I called him out on that, he then made a tweet as a follow-up directed at me, where he also mockingly, talked about executing apostates like myself. So I made a video about him and said he should come on and explain that to us himself. He then asked me to invite him on my channel. So I did. And as we were discussing what we should debate, what we should discuss, I actually said to him that, I find it pointless to discuss Islamic laws alone because, it doesn't really mean anything. I would like to definitely discuss the background of Islamic laws and why you would believe in this religion which advocates for those laws. And he was very clear that he does not want to do that. He does not want to discuss theology with me. He does not want to discuss the epistemology of it with me. He doesn't want to discuss why he believes in that. And I also made a public debate challenge where I asked him to have a real debate with me, as he promised before, on whether Islam is true or not. And he merely said basically that I should kill myself on a tweet, and then didn't respond to it any further. So he is not able to actually discuss these things, and I don't blame him. He's not alone. Muslim apologists in general don't want to openly, candidly talk about why they believe in Islam. They merely want to hold on to a certain narrative, to social aspects, to things that they want to impose on others, and they want to rally people behind them while saying outrageous things in public. And he's a prime example of that. So I'm really excited about your encounter with him on Saturday, and to see what happens. I really want everyone to see what that guy thinks.
Well, like I'm a little bit of a loose cannon in that case as well. I don't care, what we talk about or wherever the conversation takes me, I'll go there. Whatever comes to my mind, and I push him, put him in an uncomfortable position, I would do it. I don't care whether it's a topic or not, whether it's going out of, I don't really care, because as I said, I am not there to have a meaningful conversation with him. This is purely entertainment. This is going to be purely entertainment. So get your popcorns ready.
Yep. Right, I want to go into some super chats. There are lots of them, so I want to address them quickly. I'm sure there's lots of stuff that was directed at you. Troy English made a super sticker that is just an expression of joy. Thank you so much, Troy English, with 50 pounds. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the support here. James Scald Zero made a super chat and said, "Don't forget Muhammad committing war crimes, executing hundreds of surrendered prisoners of war, including boys who only just started growing pubic hair. You got this, Harris. P.S. Weird spelling to bypass filter." I get it. Yeah. What do you think? What do you say, Harris?
Well, I think some of the arguments that we already know that what his answers are, not that those answers are any good. I think that's just a waste of time. As I said, my whole point would be, because I believe that he's actually not that educated on fiqh or the differences between different schools of thought. That's why I don't think he openly subscribed to any one particular school of thought. My whole point would be to get his opinion or views on things that he has never publicly spoken about. Then we'll see which way it goes. For example, right now you have what? And look at the meme material that's going to come out of that. So Hakikachu, like if there would be any poster boy for bringing back slavery, you have Hakikachu right there. Even Taliban do not want to bring back slavery. This is how low these guys are. He is ISIS level, not Taliban. Taliban is slightly better. This is worse than Taliban. He's at ISIS level. So he's the poster boy of bring back slavery. So what else he can be a poster boy of? So, there's so many other problematic aspects within fiqh.
And I have to say something. Sorry, go ahead. I thought he was done. Go ahead.
Yeah, so those points that within fiqh that we haven't heard of him, he might have an interesting answer to give, or he might have a problematic answer to give, or he might not have any answer to give, which will only expose his ignorance.
So to point it out again, I don't think he has any intention of trying to make you like Islam or trying to downplay Islam. He wants to speak it as out as it is as much as possible. He doesn't have any issue saying that women should be forced to wear the hijab. He has no issue saying that we should take slaves. He has no issue saying any of these things. He will acknowledge all the bad stuff that you will bring out about Islam. He merely wants to justify all that by appealing to very bad arguments and appealing to fringe scholarly books. Like one scholar somewhere wrote something and he wants to appeal to that and prove his point.
Shit on that.
Like that.
I don't care. I don't care what scholar says what. I don't care what philosopher says what. Yeah. So let him do it. This is our thing. Let him talk about. As I said, AP, I always say that again. The gauge is how many people outside of a circle are going to be like, wow, I had this thought-provoking moment right now that Hakikatu was just giving it to me. Like all my life I'd been searching for this answer. No, there's not going to be anyone. So I don't care. He's not trying to show me the good side of Islam. I'm not trying to show him good side of atheism either. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to expose his cult. That's what I'm trying to do. And I want to do these kind of, yeah.
I want to say something. I want to be always very careful with possibly generalizing people and accusing most people of a certain religious belief of holding a certain position. But I will say with all confidence that Daniel Hakikatu is not an unpopular person. The views that he holds are not unpopular. On the contrary, when he goes out there and says outrageous things that almost nobody else says, he speaks for, and he will be speaking for, a very, very large percentage and number of Muslims around the world. And I am saying this based on some very simple observations, which are the fact that many of these people will watch his stream, and many of the mainstream Muslim and Muslim apologists online will watch his stream and will hear of him, and they will approve of him, and they will congratulate him, and they will applaud him. They will say he has done a good job. Even people who are nowadays known as kind of reformist, different scholars will say Daniel Hakikatu absolutely won this. He absolutely got this. And why do they say that? I mean, the only thing that he does get is to tell us that slavery should be brought back and that these horrible things are happening. If you say that he got this, if you say that he crushed it and that he won, what exactly are you approving of?
Well, I say that the reason why they actually say it is because they are obviously defensive over it. I mean, look, the guy that you showed, Arif, he's a Pakistani, and like they look Pakistani. So I know this Pakistani mentality, and I know a lot of these Pakistanis live in Western countries, and they carry on the same way. It's us versus them. This is why I'm saying this is not an intellectual, honest conversation. It's not about that. It's about and people respond to these antics. People respond to little jibes here and there, little jokes here and there. People respond to that. Not at that moment, but I have enough faith in humanity, and we have so much data. Where are these ex-Muslims coming from, AP? Where are they coming from? There's so many Muslims, young Muslims, who are watching you. You've got the biggest platform. The people, so many ex-Muslim activists are popping up, and they bring their own crowd, they bring their own people. I've got Pakistani scholars who have 5 million, 4 million subscribers. They're responding to my videos because they're being troubled by their students who are asking them, hey, how to make a video about this hadith? Can you explain it to us? And they're talking about that. So obviously this is troubling people. There's some part at that moment they're not going to do it. At that moment in the comments they'll be like, oh, look, we got him, ha ha ha, he got him, yay. They would do that. This is the defense mechanism. Then they're not going to admit it. But I genuinely believe these ex-Muslims have to be coming from somewhere. They're coming from somewhere. They're watching something. And these are very basic arguments. When you reverse the roles, when you ask them, would you be okay if I murder you and I take your wife as my sex slave, or your daughter as your sex slave? These are uncomfortable positions if you reverse the role and you put that on them. And now imagine your sister has been taken over by, and I always give this example to Pakistanis, for example. Like, so according to your worldview, Indians can raid a village in Lahore, murder you, and take your dearly beloved sister or your mother or your wife as your sex slave. How would you feel that? It hurts them. It does get them. You can twist and turn. No, it's not forceful. Yeah, look, prophet. You can do all of that. But I guarantee you, when they go to sleep, these things trouble them, because these ex-Muslims have to be coming from somewhere. Study after study that you talk about, Islam's rigidness, Islam's radicalization has been its strength for a very long time, because they're ruled by fear and intimidation. But now we know that this is not really that possible. How many people have tried? I mean, there would be governments after you who would love to shut you down. They can't. They can't. How many people are gonna? What are you? 250, 60K at the moment. Like, whatever your Indian Muslim population would be watching would be 30% or something. There'd be 30% Muslims watching you. Why they're watching you? I have these Muslims come to my show, and I see that some names over and over again. Like, for a month, they keep coming. For 2 months, they keep coming, and then they change. Why do they come and say, "Haris, ha ha ha! Your videos have made me even a better Muslim"? This is the defense mechanism. Why do you have to tell me that? And
I actually remember so many people who. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm just gonna wrap it up. I have these comments. Like, I've shown some of these comments. Like 2019, this guy was like cursing me, threatening me. 2020, he's like, "I've changed, my friend. Haris, you've opened my heart." Look, they're so weird. We can't expect them to change, to flip within the course of a couple of hours. It's not going to happen. It's a journey. They're watching. It's troubling them. The people go there, and humans are complex. So I give respect to. But then you have these people who are definitely lost causes, like Ali Dava, or these guys. Ali Dava just made a video on him where he went to this to this rabbi. I don't know if you saw that video, where there was this Muslim guy who was punching some random Jews. In England. So one of the Jews was a very old man, and he fell. Like, you could see the video, and then he fell, broke his ankle or something. Ali Dava, to score some points, went to a rabbi. Hey, look. When we talk about hadiths that are insulting towards Jews, what's the first hadith that comes to your mind? To me, the first hadith that comes, push them to the narrowest part of the street, right?
Oh,
that's just one of them. That's the hadith.
Yeah, sure.
Which one?
I was thinking about the worst one, which is that a time will come where the Muslims will fight the Jews, and using trees and rocks will say, "There's a Jew behind me, come and kill him." But
well, there you go. That's another one too. So he goes to Rabbi, and he says, "Rabbi," like in his high pitched voice, he goes like, "Oh, like our prophet was so good. Didn't address the elephant in the room. Didn't talk about, this guy was actually trying to live by the code of prophet. He was trying to push the Jew to the narrowest part. This is what he was actually doing. Yeah, actually elbowed him. And he was actually pushing him to the corner, to the narrowest part of the street. Anyway, so instead of that, he goes, our prophet was so kind that he said that if you see a hazard on the street, like a thorny branch or something, move it to the side so humans are not troubled by it. And look, by humans, he meant Jews or Christians or Hindus or Muslims or everyone. This is what he's saying, right? And I'm like, a poor rabbi was like, yeah, okay, I would just take your goodwill. But he should have said, but what about the one push him to the narrowest part of the street? He didn't, and that guy was actually trying to do that. This is what and he didn't. So this is the dishonesty. So they're Muslims who are ignorant of these hadiths. But this Ali Dava guy is not ignorant of that. He knows about this, and not only he knows about it, he knew about it, that it is relevant in this case, but it is
he lies.
Problematic. That's what this is problematic. That's why he's lying by omission. I can't think of anything else. So these guys they know. Some people, so not every Muslim is going to respond to that. When some other Muslim is going to look at that, then it's like, yeah, that's bad.
I really think I really want to go and make a project. I really want to go to some Jewish congregation, to some place where many Jews gather, and I want to make a very honest interview with people. I want to make honest interviews with rabbis. I want to go and ask them what exactly they think about all these terrible things that Muhammad said about them. I want to read the source and ask them. So, what do you think about? What do you think Muhammad was a very good guy since he said we should push the Jews to the narrowest part of the street, or do you think Muhammad was a good guy when he said curse the Christians and the Jews, or when he said the Jews will fight you and you will kill them all and all that? So what do you think about that? Do you think Muhammad was a very beautiful, very wonderful, fantastic, moral man that we should all follow and love? What do you, dear Rabbi, think of this? I really want to do that.
Ask Benjamin Netanyahu. He'll give you the legitimate answer. But but my point is that so not every Muslim, I'm still willing to give them the benefit that not every Muslim is aware of this. There's a lot of ignorance. So when they come across your channels or when they watch our videos, they go like, okay, well, it doesn't make any sense to me. They do go for to seek confirmation to their bias, and the cleric gives them some sort of a watered down answer or whatever. They're like, okay, it makes sense. Harris got it wrong. But then they watch another video again because curiosity brings them back. Curiosity not only kills the cat, but also kills Islam as well. So that's what these guys are constantly watching. They keep coming back for more, and we're witnessing the death of Islam like it's never been witnessed before. Christianity had gone through that phase through the printing press or something. Christianity has been on a watered down stage for a very long time. Even as a watered down Christianity, but Islam is like, whoa, it's hit them like a ton of bricks. It's like
ironically,
Islam has been steamrolled right now.
Ironically, Christianity is what basically, started or spread the printing press, and it was mainly done for the spreading of the Bible, and that's how it worked. Whereas with Islam, we have the internet. The internet is killing Islam right now, very much. I mean, we have the whole concept of ex-Muslims, of people who leave Islam and openly speak about it. I mean, you did have people at times who were no longer Muslims, or who were supposed to be Muslims but are not Muslims, but you didn't really have this concept of ex-Muslims who actually go out there and talk. We are something completely new, and we are a product, a result of mass media, of the internet, of these things. It is becoming normal. We are helping it. We are helping make this normal. And you know what? We're proud of that. Yeah. So
hey, I want to say one more thing, because I know.
Sure, go ahead.
I
want to read the super chats, but yeah, go ahead.
No. You got a super chat, so because I might take a couple of minutes. Go to super chat.
Okay, I'll read some more super chats and then you can come back to that. Just remember it, keep it in mind. Hindu historian said you guys should contribute to Islam Stack Exchange. Yeah, I think I came across things there several times. I don't know, is that moderated? That would be very interesting, actually. Sean Lockwood said, if Allah has already used his magic pen to cause your apostasy, then how can Muslims say you earn death? Is Allah not perfect in his deeds? You could go endlessly about this whole topic on how Allah is the sole figure, the sole entity responsible for Harris Sultan and Apostate Prophet together here today, sitting and speaking against Allah. But
someone must have said, Inshallah. Someone must have said, Inshallah, Harris Sultan and AP will sit together, God willingly. I mean, either it happened by God's will, or your God is useless. He can't control anything. So, I wanted to say, because I know, like, we all try to be the best versions of ourselves, and if you cannot self-reflect and you can't look, I always say the best form of criticism is self-criticism. I mean, if you can't see it, the other person can tell you become defensive or something. So we're always trying to be the best versions of ourselves. And I know, like I saw your post that you were talking about, that you want to be forgiven, and you want to forgive everyone, and you want to be the best person you can be, etc., etc. I also see this, and to be honest, which level did you stoop to? I mean, your wife was attacked by Muhammad Hijab and Abdullah Samir. I don't think we crossed any lines yet. I mean, let's just talk about you. I also see that now we're at a phase where there's so many ex-Muslims who are not in a privileged position as we are, if some ex-Muslim is arrested now, and there was one 2 months ago, we received a message from his brother that he used to listen to me and Ghalib. By the way, you should have Ghalib Kamal as well. He's a brilliant guy. I mostly create his content. So he wrote to us. He said he used to listen to us and he was killed. And that hit us. I was like, wow, we would not even have known about this. He probably sent me the email too. I didn't get.
Hello. We lost Harris. Harris Sultan. Are you here? Are you back?
Sorry. So yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
So we have a response. So we have a responsibility as well to these people that we need to inspire them. We need to give them courage as well, that they're not alone, and that comes from position of strength. And this is why I think it's very important for us, or I'll just speak for myself, that I want to tell them, like, this is most of my Urdu videos, that like, we are making jokes to a point that people are being desensitized. Like I would talk about Muhammad's sex life, like in Urdu, in Pakistani, they would not even bring it up. They would not bring up the name of Muhammad, like Hazrat Muhammad. They start kissing the fingers, and that's the reverence that they have, this respect that they have for the name of Muhammad. And here I am just casually talking about, oh yeah, he had sex with 11 women in one night and only took one single shower. People are like, whoa. And they're shocked, but that desensitizes people, and that also encourages a lot of people. I always tell them, don't be reckless, don't do this in front of your parents or friends or whatever. Always be careful. But our time will come when you wouldn't have to fear, and the clerics are seeing that. So I think this is also very important.
Yeah, I have said this before. It's like, I have said this before.
Mm-hmm.
This is happening. This is very important. It's true. It needs to be pointed out. The stuff that we are doing nowadays, we are depicting Muhammad. We are depicting something that looks like Muhammad. We are talking about him freely as we wish. We are talking about Islam as we wish. And these are things that were started with the spreading of mass media several decades ago, and they caused major problems, major outrage. They caused diplomatic problems. They caused riots all around the world. And we remember Salman Rushdie. We remember the Danish cartoonist, and Charlie Hebdo, not too far ago, and all these things. There are so many more examples. The what's his name? Van Gogh, the guy who made the movie together with Ayaan Hirsi Ali. And we have these issues, and they were forerunners to something that was unacceptable in their time that has become acceptable thanks to them. They have desensitized the public. They have shown to the public that you should be able to do these things, and they have made a sacrifice. You and I are making a sacrifice. We are repeating things, showing things, talking about things, and normalizing them. The things that we do nowadays, which are unacceptable, which create a shock in people's minds, will become normal thanks to us in the future. And I do want to contribute to that. I have always said I want to contribute to that. This is important to me. I want to draw a cartoon. I want to rip up the Quran in response to somebody saying that I deserve to be executed, because I want this to become normal. I want this form of protest to become the norm. I don't want people to be afraid of this. I don't want people to think they have to be quiet. I don't want people to think that this is something impossible, which nobody can do. So this is really extremely important. We are doing something here, and I really appreciate that.
Well, yeah, that was Theo Van Gogh you were talking about, and and they have been beaten into submission. This thing happened with Samuel Paty. It only happened last year, and we're nowhere near the finish line. This is going to keep happening for some time. But in the process, because we're dealing with such a huge number of people who've been spoiled by this notion that no one can mention the name of Muhammad without all the titles that the self-proclaimed titles that they ask for. Even reasonable Muslims have also been spoiled by that notion. So slowly we'll get the liberals, then the semi-liberals, and then a little bit people in the middle, and then we would never get the far right of the Islamic world to see the point. But the other ones will lose interest, and And I think it's a multi-step process, and it's happening. But at the same time, we are constantly adding people who are becoming ex-Muslim. The only thing that worries me or sometimes saddens me is the fact that I get these so many messages from Pakistan, who young kids. I've left Islam. What do I do? Like now I'm expected to pray, but I can't pray, and I'm like, not much I can do. But I tell you that you need to finish your studies. Focus on your studies, be independent, financially independent, and the whole world is your backyard. So and not everyone's going to turn out to be a successful, a qualified doctor or engineer or someone like that. But what about those people? But that would reach a critical mass at one point, and then we'll let's hope we're around to watch the show.
So here's Detective O'Will said, a puss, if you insult the Prophet of Islam, why do you cry when Muslims strike back and insult you? I mean, we have talked about this so many times, but I'm not sure it's very hard to see. I understand why it might be hard for you to see if you come from if you come from an Islamist or from an average Muslim perspective. But what is happening here is not that we are, attacking something out of thin air, out of the blue for no reason. What is happening here is not that I attack the Prophet of Islam or I insult the Prophet of Islam and then I cry because people strike back, and by strike back, I'm not sure what you're referring to. You're probably also referring to violence, because I'm pretty sure that stuff is justified in your worldview as well. But what's happening here is not that I am the aggressor. I am somebody who responds. Your religious beliefs, and you know this very well, preach that I am the lowest of creatures, that I am less than human, that I'm like cattle, that I'm lesser than cattle, and so on, that I deserve to be executed by Muhammad's words, that I deserve to be executed by all accepted Islamic jurisprudential schools and traditions, by the major scholarly consensus. And this is caused by Muhammad himself. I then, as a response, as a reaction to that, criticize Muhammad and also insult him, and I am happy to do so again and again. And I also satirize him and make fun of him and make cartoons about him, just to attract more attention to what we are actually talking about. So I am reacting to the violator, to the aggressor, who is Muhammad, and which is your religion. I am responding. I'm not offending. I'm not attacking. And then you come back and complain about my response and justify many terrible things. So you have to get that order of things right first. I'm just responding to something terrible here. And I'm sure if there was a religion which directly attacked people like you and it dehumanized people like you and ordered the killing of people like you, you would act exactly the same way.
Well, we can easily say that, you say that Jerusalem is yours. Why do you cry when you say that it's ours, and you cry that, oh, look, we're being oppressed or whatever? It goes both ways. First of all, I don't think we're crying. You're perfectly fine to attack us verbally, our ideas, or even our person. You can challenge anything you want. Nobody's crying. When we are also well within our rights to block you and not listen to you, and you are also well within your rights not to listen to us. That's the whole point. This is something that you guys need to understand, and bring your head out of the 7th century framework and then apply the 21st century. That's perfectly fine, reasonable to exchange ideas, criticize, even mock, ridicule, whatever. People make my cartoon. If they make it, I'm perfectly fine with that. I don't have to see that. This is perfectly fine. You don't have to see our criticism of Muhammad either. You are worried because your faith requires you something. Your faith requires you to go and hunt blasphemers down or apostates down. So we're not actually crying. You're the ones who are actually crying. So much so that, like a crybaby, you would go and just start bashing everything.
Yep. Absolutely. I'm not crying. I'm saying if you want to dehumanize me and say terrible stuff about me and about others, and if you want to come and justify violence against me or commit violence against me, then go away. Get the hell out of here. If you want to talk in terrible ways to me, I'm not going to interact with you. I'm not going to listen to you. That's fine. That is within
and they can do that too. And they
Yeah,
can
you
do
can do
that
that
too.
too.
They can
You
tell
can do
us,
that too.
sorry, we don't want to listen to you.
People have this weird
That's
understanding
fine.
that this is contrary to freedom of speech. No, it has nothing to do with freedom of speech. I can, grant your right to say certain things, while I can choose to ignore you or completely refuse to interact with you if you act a certain way. That is entirely normal. There's nothing. There is no contradiction with my worldview here, and it is totally justified. And you can do that as well. Let's move on to more super chats quickly. Sojkovic said, "Daniel, I can catch you, Pikachu." Yeah, thank you, Sojkovic. As always, I appreciate you
That's a good
being
one.
here. Imhotep Bangis became a member of the channel, and if you become a member of the channel, you actually become a prophet. That's how easy it is to become a prophet. You just
Caliph.
sign up.
Caliph.
No, you just sign up to the channel for $4.99, and then you become a prophet. It actually says you're a prophet, and you have a
So
prophet.
you're not the only prophet. You got.
I'm the head of the prophets. That's the issue.
Right. So
I'm the final.
Yeah. All right, you're
Yeah,
the final one. Okay.
It's much easier than Muhammad. You can just become a member of the channel for $5, then you will be a prophet. That's how easy it is nowadays.
What other privileges do they get? No, did they get like what Muhammad had quite a lot of?
Well, I want to provide a world. No, just kidding. Okay, yeah. Zagros Askar made a super chat and said, "How can anyone know whether they have the right interpretation, given that there are no prophets to guide Muslims on a daily basis? At the end, all Muslim scholars inject their own interpretations." Do you want to add anything to that, Harris?
That's the whole point. So people who ask for Sharia to be implemented, the first question is which one? Yours or theirs, Hanafis or Malikis? Which one? Which one? So Taliban are Hanafis, right? So which one are you going to follow? So you can clearly say that it is obviously open to interpretation, which means it's arbitrary and subjective. But they say it's objective. How could objective be subjective? It doesn't make any sense.
It's very funny. I was listening to this Muslim couple yesterday or the day before, and she was basically saying, Sharia is, no Muslim country today applies proper Sharia. And I thought, I mean, how do you say that? What is proper Sharia to you? Can you point at what proper Sharia would be, and on what basis you say that no country today applies proper Sharia? And you are trying to whitewash and make Sharia cute and make it likable to others. But while you are saying that no country applies proper Sharia and that proper Sharia should be applied and it's good, people like Daniel Hikikachu advocate for a very brutal system, and they also say that no country today applies proper Sharia. The proper Sharia should be applied. Then you have ISIS, which also says no country today applies proper Sharia, it should be applied. So what exactly is that? You should be able to point at the Sharia that should be there in existence and then point at why that is lacking. And if you do that, you will end up with something terrible.
Let me. Funny that you brought up ISIS, and let me tell you a funny story. It was last week's news because I covered that on my channel. There was an attack by ISIS on Taliban a couple of weeks ago, probably a week ago.
Yeah.
What was the statement from ISIS?
What?
They said we're gonna overthrow the Taliban government because Taliban are too liberal. We are the real Islam. So we're living in a world where Taliban are also considered liberal by a certain standard. And what Taliban responded back? Taliban said the ISIS is too radicalized.
Yeah. Well, there's a funny thing going on. Taliban actually has this worldview. They made it very explicit at the beginning for decades now. They said at the beginnings, before they took over Afghanistan in 2001, they said that they want to bring Afghanistan into such a state where the society lives just the way the Prophet Muhammad and his companions lived 1,400 years ago. So that was actually their intention, and that's what they pursue. And they argue that they have the best understanding of reviving the Islamic society as it is supposed to be. And on the contrary, then you have ISIS, which says, no, we are going to bring society back to the state of Muhammad 1,100 years ago. And what they agree on and disagree on is merely a set of theological matters. The Taliban has a different understanding of theology, whereas the ISIS has a different understanding of theology. And ISIS brings one thing to the next level, which is they openly say that those who refuse to accept Islamic law, universal Islamic law, have apostatized. They have become apostates and have become non-Muslims. So they declare them as kafirs, which is why they justify killing people. Whereas the Taliban is a little bit slower, a little bit more careful with that, but also eventually kind of have the same logic.
Well, no, but see, this is the thing, right? So, Taliban follow Hanafi school of thought, so which by default they're not agreeing. They are over, I know over 100 differences between Hanafis and Hanbalis and Shafis, and then and with Maliki as well. So I've got nearly 100. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but so those interpretations or those rulings, fatwas, they are considered halal in Maliki, but they're not agreed by Hanafis. So they follow Hanafi school of thought. So according to them, if Sharia is equal to morality and not following Sharia is immorality, then that would be, then by definition, simple deductive logic, then Hanafi think that every other school of thought is immoral, and they're not following Sharia. They're not following Sharia, and again, that goes back to those people. Which one do you follow? Saudi Arabia says we're Salafis. Salafis don't officially subscribe to either of these schools of thought, but they are very similar to Shafi, because Shafis are very hardline as well. They go directly on all the hadith. So all these nuances that complicate things even more. So as you said, when that woman says, "Oh, nobody's following the real Sharia," just say, "Okay, tell me, give me 10 points of Sharia that you think that it should be like that." Other than rape and murder, actually not even rape, other than murder, a murderer should be beheaded. Other than that, there would be dispute on pretty much everything else. And maybe what's in the Quran, like you could say the fornicators get 100 lashes, and stoning is disagreed upon as well, because the goat ate that one, and then some schools of thought don't agree with that, some agree with that, and same with. So other than those couple of chopping off the hands, there's a disagreement on everything. You say, okay, whichever one she writes, you go, okay, well, what about this? What about Hanafi? What about Maliki? What about them? So they themselves don't know it. This is just it's an easier way out for Muslims. They've been told that, like if there was real Islam, we would have been fine. But nobody knows what real Islam is. They're genuine. There are genuine disagreements, which actually are genuine because they don't make sense.
So the issue with the Taliban and with ISIS is, just to clarify that a little bit, and I want to connect that to why a woman who says proper Sharia is not applied is a little bit engaging in some nonsensical thought. The Taliban subscribes to, as far as I remember, to a Maturidi theological school, which is not that relevant to the whole socio-political aspect, whereas groups like ISIS subscribe to an Athari or a traditionalist school of thought when it comes to theology. And when it comes to jurisprudential matters, which is called fiqh, the Taliban subscribes to the Hanafi school of thought, and that is merely based on very much on their traditional, on their cultural circumstances, because they are Taliban literally means students or seekers, and they are people who are students of the Deobandi movement, which originated in India, which is a revivalist Islamic school that also subscribes to the Hanafi jurisprudential thought within Islam. And this Hanafi is nothing that is considered extreme. In fact, Turkey, where I am from, is also mostly Hanafi, and I myself was a Hanafi Muslim. And Hanafi is just one of the four main schools of Islam. And on many of the social aspects, social political aspects, things that you would consider extreme, things that we would nowadays consider controversial and harsh. On many of these things, these four schools agree. They merely disagree on certain applications. Like they all disagree that somebody who leaves Islam should be executed. They merely disagree on, the certain circumstances, like if is it a man or a woman? Should the person be given a specific amount of time before they are executed or not? Should the person have the chance to repent or not, and so on? But in the end, they agree that apostates should be executed. So this is how the issues differ. They have some aspects where some schools are more flexible on laws than other schools, but again, this is very much trivial and very much detail, and very much does not really change the fact that all of these schools subscribe to what we nowadays would call radical or violent or extreme or whatever it is. The problem with movements like ISIS and others that ascribe to this traditionalist point of view is the problem that they have is that they reject the entire notion that you have to subscribe to one of these four jurisprudential schools, and they think that you should, as much as possible, subscribe to the first generations of Islam, to the first three generations, and follow them as much as possible. As far as I remember, within ISIS, there is, however, a prevalent adherence to one of the schools, which is the Hanbali school. They subscribe to that, to the Hanbali school, and there are certain people within the group who reject the schools or who don't subscribe to them, and then there are some people who call themselves Zahiri, which are in mainstream Islam considered very rare and very unpopular, because they have this understanding that we should not in any way try to reinterpret or interpret Islam, but in fact read it and apply it exactly as the text says, and they are hyper literalists in that whole stuff. So the differences that these people have are merely differences of theology, of where is Allah, what is Allah, how is free will explained, and this and that, and then simple issues regarding how Islamic law is explained and how it is applied. In the end, they very much agree on Islamic morals, they very much agree on Islamic beliefs, they very much agree on Islamic laws. And if a regular man or woman in today's time claims to be a Sunni Muslim and claims to be a traditional, an orthodox, a regular religious Sunni Muslim, then they do subscribe to one of these thoughts. And each single one of these thoughts approves of things as said that the vast majority of us non-Muslims in our time would consider extremely inhuman, extremely brutal, extremely barbaric. There's no way out of that.
With fiqh though, I disagree a little bit there, because in fiqh though, like in these different schools of thought, the actual rulings, there's some massive differences. And I'll probably bring them up. I'll probably spring them on Hagigatu as well. Let's see if he's aware of them. This is what I'm saying, because if you look into the differences between fiqh, like something as simple as whether that is considered halal or not, and if you go into dietary requirements, if you go into the matters of trade, what laws should be followed or whatever, so all of those things, they differ hugely, and there's been huge recorded disagreements between these founding imams.
Sure, yeah.
So,
I mean, when I was a Hanafi, I learned that I'm not supposed to eat, certain seafood, for example. Whereas in Shafi, with the Shafis, are totally fine with eating anything that comes out of the water, for example. And there are these differences. But my point was just that in terms of basic morality, they very much agree.
But food is considered morality, right? I mean, it is considered part of a moral code that God has given you, commanded you, what you can eat, what you can't eat. Otherwise, well, just go and eat whatever you want. Just go and eat a donkey or a horse, and don't do zabiha on them. But no, these things, everywhere a Muslim goes, he looks for halal food. Yes, there's an agreement that everything should, we all should eat only halal. We should never eat pork. But again, as you said, Hanafis, you can't eat everything. The Shafis would be like, okay, if it's considered within the traditions of the local country or the local area, that's fine. Like you can eat snails in some schools of thought. So hang on. I mean, if you saw someone eating a snail, You'd be grossed by that, and then if you grow up in Pakistan or something, you'd be like, oh, this is haram. This is haram. They would give. So if you do something haram, that is the epitome of immoral behavior.
Yeah.
So if Sharia, so I want to know the advocates of Sharia. Which Sharia are we talking about? So I think this is such a big problem, and I give it. This is a genuine problem. If Hakikatu or these kind of people don't know this, then you don't get out of here. Don't waste my time. I would also want to talk to an educated mufti or someone who's well versed on these ones. If Hakikatu doesn't know this or whatever, there's so many differences. I'm telling you, there are literally 100 differences between the various schools of thought, literally on the matters of what's considered halal and what's considered haram.
Mm-hmm.
So, and those differences are there for a reason. Why? Because there's an interpretation issue with the Quranic verse, or there's a hadith. There's a conflicting hadith. So those things exist there for a reason, and this is the reason why I would respect someone like Imam Maliki or Imam Malik or Imam Hanafi. At least, obviously they were products at the time, and they were dogmatic in their own right. But my point is, they left no page unturned. They looked through everything, and still they had to apply their own intellect, and they came up with these rulings. And Shafi didn't agree with it, or Hanbali didn't agree with it, and he had a different on that. Why? Because it's not freaking clear. If it's not even clear, then it means it's just arbitrary, subjective, open to interpretation. That's the very definition of that.
Yep. Okay, let's go through the super chats very quickly. Let's wrap this up. We are at the very beginning still. I wanted to keep this at around an hour or so, but let's go on. Okay. Let's see. Stop Scamming Man, as always, thank you so much for being here, said, as I recall in Ali Dimwit's, and we're proud of that video, he not only said AP should be put to death for being an apostate, he also called him a fake ex-Muslim. Shout out to Harris's petition, by the way. Yeah, it's pretty dumb. He says that I was never a Muslim to begin with, and that I am thereby a fake ex-Muslim, and then he also goes ahead and says that I deserve to be that I'm a little weakling who deserves to be executed for leaving Islam and for spreading corruption by spreading my knowledge on this stuff. So it's.
Do you think he? Not that there's anything wrong, but obviously what's wrong is in being in denial. Do you think he's? I reckon he has some weird obsession with men's appearances or something, or their muscles or something. Like, I mean, I don't know if you saw this or not. He actually made a video on me. He was just talking to some girl, and Rahmatullah Noraz, this other guy there, who actually deleted the debate that I had with him. So I had to twist his arm and say, hey, if you don't give me my debate back, and this was the last time I trusted one of these guys, I said, if you don't give it to me, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell everyone that, look, he lost. This is why he's not giving it. So he ended up giving it to me, but he didn't put it up on his channel, and I put it up on my channel. So, it was kind of that thing. But anyway, so he's sitting there as well, and he's like, I want to debate him. Where is that debate then? Why did you put it up? Anyway, so he's sitting there, and he starts talking about, oh, Haris, yeah? This guy, yeah? He's all showing his muscle and shows my videos and, like on my Instagram, which were not that many. Literally, you can count like 7 or 8 photos out of 100. In which like I'm just working out or something, and like he's talking about muscle, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna go to Australia, and I had a bit of fun as well, because kangaroos are quite muscular as well. I said, this is probably why you want to get a photo taken with a kangaroo or something. So it's just I don't know. He has. I don't know. He might have a thing for me. So don't.
He might have. That's very much possible. I think he has a big problem with issues of sexuality. When it comes to women, he made this whole post once in which he described how much he struggled sexually before he got married, and finally he has resisted and he has stayed faithful, and finally he did it. He got married. This was the biggest struggle of his life.
He resisted. He resisted.
Yeah, I think he wanted to, I don't know, sexually assault things or whatever it is. I don't know what he went through, but
no, he was assaulted, or he's saying that he was attracted to some girl or something.
No, I think he was just expressing how he wanted to badly have badly sexually approach everything that moves, but he
What?
had patience and he waited until he got married and he did it. It's like a big achievement. Yes, I resisted
Stop
until I
it,
got
Ali
married.
Dava. Ali
I was
Dava,
like,
the fact of the matter is that no girl said yes, mate. That's why don't you tell us the truth, Ali Dava? No girl said yes. No girl would, in their right mind, would say yes. Yeah, which girl would
yeah.
want to go out with a guy who talks like that?
All right, stop scamming man said on Hakikachu's background. He's from a laid-back Muslim family and had a change of heart. His I don't want to read that part for now. I know his background. I know what Daniel Hakikachu apparently went through, and why he has certain why he has certain thoughts about social matters has to do with a family background, and I'm very familiar with that, and I think it would explain a lot, and it would be very helpful in understanding why a person acts the way he acts. But in all honesty, I don't right now want to get into discussing a
did
very
you show the
personal matter.
message?
I didn't
Did you
show
show
it.
the message?
I didn't show it. It was the super chat
Okay.
that came
Okay.
before. But
Okay,
yeah, so Daniel Kikuchu had a very terrible thing in his family happening,
right.
which made him extremely outraged and hateful regarding the world, regarding
Really?
freedom and society and this and that. We can discuss that at some point. But yeah, I just don't want to
All
go into that
right.
at the
So
moment.
there you go. There you go. It makes sense
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Like, I mean,
yeah,
look,
yeah.
I still don't know what you're talking about. Like I don't know if he had the father who I don't know anything. I don't know what you're talking about. But as I said earlier, it's all these guys will look at. And I made a video about Muhammad hijab as well. And then look, it's not like once them put it out there, it's not really personal. And I actually was very emotional when I saw Muhammad hijab's video, and I was like, "Oh, you big cuddly bear," because when he was speaking about how his mother raised him and what, I actually felt very touched by it, and I was like, "Oh, like you've got a very good, strong mom, and like." I connected for a moment. I just forgot about every vile thing he's ever said, and I just looked at it at a human level, and I was like, yeah, well done. But again, that is something that is obviously that is obviously some sort of an issue as well, because these guys talk about all of that. So everyone is carrying someone that going back to that Islamic scholar and the Pakistan-based Islamic scholar that I was talking about, who said that ex-Muslims carrying trauma, and then in the same sentence he said, "Yeah, it looks like these guys are carrying some trauma as well." So when we see that, when Ali Dava says there's emotional problems, these are the emotional problems that people carry. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But again, the point is, are you over that trauma? If you're not over trauma, look, I'm really sorry. I can empathize with you. I can sympathize with you, but you need to get this looked at. You need support. You need help. There's no embarrassment in that. This is first thing. They don't acknowledge that because they make fun of other people who have some sort of a trauma or who've gone through some sort of a difficult phase in life. Shouldn't you be? It's literally like those people who are homosexual but they live in denial, and because they think the reason why they're living in denial because they think homosexuality is bad, even though they themselves are homosexual.
And they have
like
this weird fear that since they have certain tendencies and certain certain things that happen to them when they think about homosexuality, they kind of have this delusion that if homosexuality is normalized, everyone will become homosexual. But that's not really how it works. People don't just start having homosexual tendencies because other people engage in homosexual acts. It's just that you are influenced by that, and you have certain homosexual tendencies when you see homosexual stuff going on.
Yeah.
That is because there's something in you that makes you act that way, and you should maybe realize that instead of trying to blame the entire world for that.
There was a study. I'll have to look it up. There was a study. I don't know how what were the numbers exactly, but they said that the people who are very homophobic are likely to be homosexuals themselves.
It's a fact.
Which
it's
is
known now. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the same thing that I was telling you earlier, that that a radical Muslim is also carrying some sort of a trauma, because normal people don't get caught up on certain issue. Then like ordinary Muslims, like, yeah, okay, you're an ex-Muslim, you're a blasphemer, bugger off, I don't want to see you again. And then they move on with their lives. But then they don't. There's some people who just go on, and they say that about us as well. Like ex-Muslims are like, "Why are you holding on to it? Are you carrying some sort of a trauma?" Whatever brings passion into it. But the point is, you're carrying something. If you're like if you're constantly doing it. I've said it multiple times. I became an atheist in 2007 or 8. I had no interest in any of this. I mean, you started before me. There's somebody Abdullah somebody started before me. I flipped.
Well, I didn't start before you. I started very recently.
No, you started way before me. You became an atheist after me, probably. But
when did you become an atheist?
No, I became an atheist in 2007, 6 maybe, 2006 or 7.
I became an atheist in 2014 or 15 or so. I only started this in 2017. So
no, I'm talking about starting a YouTube channel. I'm talking about.
Okay.
No, right. So I had no issue with that. I was like, yeah, okay, you're a Muslim. I don't care about it. My reason was I was pushed into it when there was a massive crackdown on atheists in Pakistan. There was a whole group of atheists were picked up who were just running meaningless pages on Facebook. I was like, oh, and then there was Mashal Khan, the university student. He was murdered at his university campus. I was like, this is it. So even my activism also started on an emotional ground, but then I naturally am not that kind of a person, obviously, and then it just one thing led to another. But if you're constantly talking about this, then obviously you're carrying something, or you've done it, or something triggered it. So I'm not surprised what you're saying about Hikaju. I still don't know what you're talking about, but
yeah, we can talk about it. I mean, if you have trauma in the past.
I don't think I even want to talk about it because knowing me, I'd probably think too much about it. I don't want to. Yeah. This is not me. I don't want to get into someone's personal life. But if he said something publicly, then I could probably talk about it. But if it's not public, I don't even want to know then.
Yeah. So if you have certain problems, mental health is very much understood even in modern societies, even in advanced Western societies nowadays, because it's a very new concept that people have begun to understand. The history of psychology is very young. Mental health is not too different from physical health. People in the past did not understand mental health because they did not really understand how the mind works, or what the brain does, and so on. But if you have a mental health problem, it's very similar to having a physical health problem, and there is nothing wrong with getting treatment for that, with admitting that, with getting it checked out, with going to a psychologist, a therapist, a counselor, or even going to a psychiatrist and taking certain medication, which is absolutely necessary for certain conditions. There is nothing wrong with that. Instead of letting it out on the world and doing very terrible things to others and to yourself, you should fix the problem that needs fixing. There is no shame about that at all. Let me jump to the next super chat. Let's go very quickly. Maxon H. Din said, "Hi Harris, no matter you lose or you win, we are with your reasoning and we are not blind followers." Yeah, I mean, to me, it's not about winning and losing. It will explode.
There is no losing or winning anyway. I would consider tiny bit of a loss if 100 people who are atheists and say, "Oh, Hakikatu, I'm on your team, bro. After this, I'm on your team." That's just never gonna happen. So there's no. His people can beat their chest and they can say, "We won all they want." I mean, even if they lose, I've seen that. I spoke with Mufti Uthman Farooq. I think you've spoken with him, or David Wood has spoken with him.
David,
he acknowledged evolution. I went through multiple steps of evolution. First, he started off with denying evolution. I gave him multiple examples of evolution, how evolution has taken place. I gave him so many examples. And then by the end, you know what? He acknowledged evolution, but he said it's not caused by natural selection, it's caused by Allah. So even despite of that, his people underneath were saying, "Oh, he won." I was like, what? This guy has been anti-evolution and he acknowledged evolution. Okay. So
I had a debate I had a discussion, the whole ambush thing with Mohammed Hijab, where I was basically ambushed into having a conversation with him after he rejected my debate offer. And in there, he said so many very terrible things that the vast majority of Muslim scholars and Muslim apologists reject. And despite that, they were like, "Whoa, he absolutely crushed it, absolutely won." But to these people, it doesn't matter what's being said. What matters is that one side is Muslim, the other side is not. So let's go on.
Is the most. I very quickly want to talk about that because you reminded me of that one when you were ambushed by him. He lied. He didn't talk about exosolar planets. He spoke about that, and some guy, I watched his interview, and he quoted a different Qur'an because he said where it said plural moons and plural stars, and he said, well, if that Qur'an was talking about plural stars, but then the word, it should have been plural moons as well if it was talking about exoplanets or exosolar systems. But it didn't. But he lied. He actually, Muhammad Hijab actually lied. So someone made some Arabic speaker. He did that. So this is why I'm not going to take any. These guys are dishonest. I don't take any.
No, it's very easily demonstrated. He lied about the interpretation of the Quran. He lied about the text. He lied about the tafsir. He clearly said that the tafsir of Tabari agrees with him that there are many suns. The tafsir of Tabari never says such a thing. Yeah, it doesn't say such a thing. I looked at it myself, and it's like I don't know.
We didn't know that. But
But
if you don't know it on the spot, these zombies.
The thing is, you are in a conversation, you are in a discussion with somebody, and he brings up something that you have never heard of before because it is just so absurd, so stupid that nobody else brought it up. But he brings it up, he makes it up, and he presents it to you and packs it in such a way that he appears confident and you seem like you don't know of the matter. And that is then applauded by people, despite the fact that whatever he has said is completely wrong and completely made up. And when you then show it afterward to the public, then people are simply quiet about it and want to, ignore that. It's
like John Stewart, like Hijab versus the Cosmic Skeptic. He just made up. He lied about the second chapter of John Stuart Mill's book, Utilitarianism, and luckily enough, he remembered it. He just read the book, and he was like, "No, that's not what the title of the chapter is." He's like, "Yeah, it is. Go look it up." And then they looked it up. It's like, "Oh, okay." He's either so arrogant that he can't see his own bullshit, or I reckon he's lying. He lies because that case, in your case, he deliberately lied, and then when the lie was pointed out, it was like, and then with Cosmic Skeptic, when he did the debate and went back and edited the video, dude, you don't touch that.
He even lied about one of the main issues, which is he said that it is an acceptable position and even accepted by the majority consensus among Muslims that apostates don't have to be executed but can be relocated to different countries that you have an agreement with. And he even cited certain Muslim scholars. I think Ibn Qayyim, I think he cited, and the whole thing is a lie. There is no such idea. There is no such consensus. This is not an accepted idea. And the person that he cited, Ibn Qayyim, actually says the opposite in his primary book. He actually says that Muhammad's words and the words of his companions and successors clearly show that we must execute apostates. So this is a complete lie made up by him. And others have even publicly, others have responded to this and said this is not true, but none of them wanted to publicly go against him and publicly, denounce him for that lie.
So does that mean Hijab is not proud of that? Because he's trying to make up an explanation.
Yeah, he's not proud of that. Yeah,
so he's not proud of that. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. I wasn't aware of that. Right.
Yeah, he's not proud of that. Yeah. Okay, let's go. Jahangir Godla said, "What is the real counter to folks promoting Islamophobia? What is the real counter to folks promoting Islamophobia? Some Western Indian Zealand politicians and media organizations being example of such folks." Do you want to add anything to that, or we can quickly give it a brief answer?
So I didn't understand the question. So he's saying that
what is the real Indians counter to folks promoting Islamophobia? Some Western Indian Zealand politicians and media organizations being example of such folks.
Yeah, I think they're talking about the people like Tulsi and or there's some more. I don't remember their names. No, they're not. Well, they're just playing by your rule. I mean, these Western Indian that you speak of, guess the word that they use now. Hindu phobia. And they are well within their rights to use that.
Yeah, I will quickly say I'll quickly say the whole term Islamophobia is complete bullshit. I will not accept. I will not even respect this term as a legitimate term to refer to something that is implied here, which is anti-Muslim, hate, like hate against Muslims and prejudice against Muslims. The term Islamophobia is bullshit. It has nothing to do with hate, nothing to do with prejudice. It is a dumb word that is misused by Islamists after it was invented for just terrible purposes. It is dumb.
And
I can't respect the existence of this word and talk about it.
but there's genuine, as we know, that there's genuine anti-Muslim bigotry. But
Of
this
course,
is
but
their
it's not
fault.
Islamophobia, you know.
Yeah, it's their fault that you coined a false term and then you insist on running with it. And guess what's happening now? Everyone's going to use the phobia term, atheistophobia. Hindus are doing this. They're doing really well. Well done, Hindus, for doing that. I don't respect the Hindu phobia term either, because I criticize Hinduism quite often on my channel, because a lot of people listen to me from India. But this is the same thing. Hindu phobia. They're using that term as well. They're playing by your rules. They're using
the Muslim world is vastly Christophobic and Jewophobic, so we should acknowledge that as well. Stop Scamming Man said in a super chat, Muslim dies eagerly reach out to Christians with a narrative of we have profound common ground with you because we both value Jesus. How receptive would they be to an Ahmadi with this narrative regarding them and Muhammad?
Yeah, obviously they won't be, and they're only doing that. There's a funny story that I want to tell you. There was in 2018, I believe, or 2018 or 2019. There was a shock jock. There was an Australian radio host. He just made a fun on Mother Mary. He said that she was probably shagged behind the shack or something. He just used some really crude words. Guess who protested? Guess who were the first ones to protest? Muslims. They were like, oh, Mother Mary, how dare we talk about this? Obviously, they had an agenda because Muslims are very sensitive about blasphemy now. And then after them, some Christians came out as well, and they protested so much that he was actually sacked. But he was such a big star that he actually came back a few months later. But the point is, they found a common ground, and they were like, yes, let's stop these blasphemers, you Christians. Why are you so soft on this? Why do you let them make fun of Mother Mary and Jesus? And Christians like, yeah, maybe we should act like you. So they're trying to find common ground, because this unfortunately, this atheism or no F's given about religion is hurting Muslims more now. Christians are somewhat, they're docile now. They got over it. They got used to it, and they actually worked out. It works out for everyone. You'll find some odd exceptions here and there, but that's just
Samuel Sunny Wilson said, is he the same Harris Sultan who wrote Why I Left Islam? Yes, that's your book, right? You have a book. You promote it?
Yes, it was recently. I actually, when I went to England, I gave it to my intellectual hero, Richard Dawkins. I met him in Buxton, and he tweeted about that. It's actually pinned on my Twitter because it was something, and he read the book and he gave a good, a good review on my book. So my sales went up a little bit, just for a little bit, for a week.
That's nice.
So yeah, guys, do check it out. All your favorite online bookstores, plus audiobook as well. Listen to the audiobook because I actually purposely picked this old Aussie guy. He has a very heavy Aussie voice, and then somehow when I listened to it, I was like, "Ooh, this must have been written by some smart dude." Where's it happening?
All right. Next super chat. Alan said, AP, if you're interested in exploring Roman Catholicism like you did with Eastern Orthodoxy, you should try getting in touch with Bishop Barron. I appreciate the advice. Thank you. Stop Scamming Man said, question for Harris. In Pakistan, how common is it for people to know the fossils of whale ancestors with legs that have been unearthed in their country? Ambulocetus, Pakicetus, Basilosaurus. Is that common? Can you quickly, very briefly say that?
These whale skeleton fossils were actually found in Pakistan.
But do regular Pakistanis know this stuff?
Obviously not. That's the whole point. and the problem, look, the common argument that they give with this one, even if you show it to them initially, you just give it to them, they don't get whoa moment. What they say, well, no, it must be a separate creature in between those. So when we get on, this is the missing link that you were talking about, like these whales with little legs. This is the missing links you're talking about. So they don't admit it. But I took one of my uncles to Melbourne Museum, and I showed him there was a whole section of hominid fossils, and I said, can you tell me the difference? And he was like, wow, this is very similar. And then again he went to that way, like, oh, but it must be those people that Allah cursed them and turned them into monkeys. So he went there, but his faith was shaken a little bit. He was like, there is something there. So that's what I'm saying. Like, and when you go to London Natural History Museum, and I've been to Berlin one, And you look at it, it's so profound. I just don't understand why people don't have a moment, going in the head. By the way, I saw Hatun Tash straight after the attack on her. I was in London in those days, and I saw her at the museum, but she was hovering around the biblical history part. So
Yeah,
she
yeah.
so she asked me, "Oh, you like the London Museum?" I said, "Yeah, I like the natural history part more." 'Cause so anyway, so yeah, she's a lovely lady.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
what happened was horrible.
That's nice. All right. Wait, let me see. Somebody said my volume is too loud compared to yours. That's a nice time to say that. Nixon Edison said, "Please check Acts 19:35 to 36, please. Thank you. I will take the advice." Arjun Singh said, "One thing interesting about Harris is he talks about Islam and Hindu also relate to that and become ex-Hindu." Mr. Monster said, "The most beautiful prophet and the greatest Sultan. Truly an awesome, powerful, and amazing collaboration." Thank you so much, Mr. Monster, as always. Please don't say my name. Lots of respect to you, Harris. I'll have my popcorn out. AP, there's such a channel about there is such a channel about Jews, the Ask Project. Oh, yeah, I know about the channel. I actually know about that. But I would like to go and ask some more precise questions myself that even such a channel would not ask to choose. Laura Solis made a super chat and said, "What is your reaction to the statement that Islam is the fastest growing religion? To me, this is a very depressing fact. Would you consider collaborating with Cosmic Skeptic?" It's actually not really a fact. I made two videos about this. Islam is statistically seen the fastest growing religion in terms of numbers. But if you look at the Pew research, which was the first big research that actually unearthed this whole claim, this whole information, they also clearly explain why Islam is the fastest growing religion, and that is because the growth of Islam is to 99.7% explained due to extremely extraordinarily high birth rates and young age among Muslims, because Muslims have this tendency to make much more babies, even if they live within the same socioeconomic environments. Only 0.3% is due to conversion. So people are not converting to Islam in masses. Muslims just have more babies. That's the whole idea here.
And
Robert
the other
Lotus
problem
said,
is,
sure, go ahead, add something.
and the other problem with that fastest growing religion is it didn't really put into consideration the Pew survey that you're talking about, how many people are actually leaving Islam. I'm not making big claims that like 5% of that is being eaten out or not. So but the other independent studies that we've had, there was a recent study in Iran. There's an Arab barometer that you can have a look. There's a real spike. For example, in Tunisia, I think it went from 15 to 30%. Iran is somewhere close to 29% if you include agnostics and atheists. So there's a radical increase in the amount of people leaving Islam. But overall, I don't know. I think on a global scale, it hasn't happened yet. We'll probably see that. And the other thing is that, yes, it is due to as we also say, Islam is the fastest breeding religion. But if you actually have a look, even their birth rate, now that is also starting to go down, because we know whenever there's prosperity coming, so if there's prosperity coming in amongst Indian Muslims, Pakistani Muslims, and Bangladesh has been growing economically, people tend to have less kids. And I think this is what Christopher Hitchens said nearly 15 years ago, when he said that there's only one way to control population, and that he wasn't speaking in Islamic context, but he was just generally speaking, one way to control population is women empowerment. So when people become educated, and obviously that's not going to happen in Afghanistan. So in countries like Afghanistan now, you would see women bearing seven children, but in other countries where there's a steady growth in women emancipation, the rate is going down. For example, in India, I think if I remember, it was like 7% or something, seven kids per woman in the 70s, and I think that's dropped down to like 3.5 or something, which is still higher than Hindus and other denominations, but it's actually dropped significantly. And same thing is happening in Pakistan as well. I think it's starting to slow down. It's directly to do with the fact that that women are being empowered to some extent. There's still a long way to go.
Robert Lodes made a super chat and said, it took centuries to get the rubbish out of Christianity. Now we get the same rubbish from Islam with violence if we challenge it. Uber Shazer made a super chat and said, Rabbi Tovi Singer defends the negative Jewish text in the Quran. I'm not entirely familiar with the issue. Ardashir made a super chat. Nixon Edison made a super chat, didn't say anything. Ardashir made another super sticker which says top. Thank you so much. John Henkel made a super chat, didn't add anything, but thank you. I really appreciate the support. Tom S. made a super chat and said, the whole history of Islam is plausible. Thank you. I don't know what you are exactly referring to. The whole history of Islam is plausible. In what regard plausible? But Asri Schizophrenia made a super chat and said, lol, Muslims are confused. Which clear proof to follow? Yeah, that refers to what we were talking about earlier, that there's clear proof and Islam has a clear message, but Muslims are completely conflicted on which exact clear message to follow. Stephen
Specifically
Wilson
regarding Sharia.
Specifically
regarding Sharia, yeah.
Yeah, Stephen Wilson said, no one created lies. No one created Allah, truth. Zagros Oskan made a super chat and said, AP, insults and mocks Muhammad. Muslims, if you insult Muhammad, then we will insult your mom. I mean, why don't they insult AP's prophet? Oh, right, he doesn't have one. Islam is submission. Obviously not to logic, though. Nicely put. Thank you so much, Zagros.
Some Pakistanis, by the way, very funny note, some Pakistanis actually.
Let's wrap it up. I have to make it very quick. I have to go soon.
Right.
Add something quickly if you want to. Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that some Pakistanis actually do that with Darwin, and they actually to somehow piss me off to start cursing Darwin, Charles Darwin.
That's so stupid. H Sergeant G said, made a super chat and didn't say anything to it. Lorik Canars made a super chat and said, China is trying to convert Uyghur Muslims to non-Muslims in the so-called re-education camps. Can you touch on this topic? Too complicated, too big of a topic. We can talk about it at some point. I have addressed it several times.
I've made quite a few videos on my channel. I've made quite a few videos. You can go check it. Har Sultan China or Har Sultan Chinese Muslim. You put it, you'll see quite a few videos.
Okay. Tanushi made a super chat and said, real Sharia has never been tried before. That's a joke, just like with communism, which has never been tried before. Asri Schizophrenia made a super chat and said, if God exists, why does he need men to enforce his own law? Eunice Lasfar made a super sticker and made another super sticker, which is basically thumbs up, and made another super chat and made another super chat. Thank you so much, Eunice Lasfar. Soikovic said, avalanche of apostasy, babies included. I hope so. And finally, Vishnu Vanch made a super chat and said, what do you think about reincarnation videos on YouTube? Reincarnation videos on YouTube? Are there videos of reincarnation happening? Is that a thing? I don't know. I don't know what that is in reference to.
Yeah, there's some Hindus are obsessed with reincarnation, and they always say that. So, well,
yeah. Okay.
They claim that.
Thank you so much, everybody. Harris, sorry, I have to kind of wrap it up right now. I'm planning on leaving. Is there anything else that you want to? Oh yeah, for everyone, to the reminder. So the main reason why we are making the stream is on Saturday, Harris Sultan is going to have a debate with Daniel Hikikichu on human rights versus Sharia. It is very explicit, human rights or Sharia. So that will be a very interesting debate to have a look at. I have the link to that right here under the stream in the description. Click on that, set a reminder so that you can watch it live and support Harris Sultan and what he's doing. It would be very much appreciated. There is also a link in the description to Harris Sultan's Patreon account where you can support his efforts in tackling the specific ideology and the notions that go around and battling the people who try to dehumanize people like us and people like you. From my side, thank you so much, everybody. Harris, anything else that you want to add?
No, that's it. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, and we'll probably do this again after the debate with my after thoughts.
we will have some discussion on that. Definitely, I want to have you back with that. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. As always, this was a very nice chat. Thanks, everybody, for the super chats. Thanks for the contributions, comments, responses, everything that you have. Don't forget to like this stream before leaving if you want to support it, or to dislike this stream if you don't want to support it, but ironically support it as well. Thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic day and stay away from Islam.
Stay away.